before, so I have a pretty good background in that. But today, we're talking about fitting in fast foods. So before we get started, though, you guys are doing a challenge this month, right? Is it not eat any fast food or just limit how much you're doing? Not. Okay, how's that going for everybody? Easy, because did you not eat much before, or just an easy tweak? Anybody struggling? Yeah, some honest people out there. Well, and I can understand that. I don't know if I could go the full month without it either. So, and as we get started too, hopefully, the clicker isn't working, so I'm going to have to kind of tag team with my intern, and so if I have to make little comments, that's what they are. So, Sean, you can go ahead and flip to the first one. Okay, so on a normal month when you're not trying to eliminate fast food, how many times or how often do you guys eat out, just to kind of get a feel? I think there's people on both ends of the spectrum where they may only do it a couple times a month. Other people where they're doing it maybe up to 2 times a day. So you can kind of think about where you fit into that. And, if it is just that occasional time, if it's maybe once a week or a couple times a month, you can, afford to splurge a little bit when you are eating out, but if it's something that you are doing multiple times a week, more than once or twice, you really need to kind of pay attention to what you're ordering, because as you can see, as I have up here, between home eating and dining out, the comparison there, it's quite different. When you're at home, you can control what you're putting in everything, and when you are dining out, you have a little bit of control, but the chefs, the cooks, they can kind of do whatever they want. They can brush something with butter and you have no idea when you may not have done that at home. In addition, we know that portion sizes are a lot bigger when you eat out. They're usually about 2 to 3 times the size of what standard portion should be. So that in itself is going to lead to extra calories, but then if it's not prepared in a healthy way, or they do sneak a lot of oil or something like that in, it's going to add extra calories too. So, if anybody watches the Food Network, or even the Travel Channel, when they go to those restaurants, I just am always overwhelmed with how much oil they use in that, and you have no idea. So chances are they are adding a lot of calories that way. And restaurant meals just tend to be lower in nutrients than what home-cooked meals are. So just kind of, something to think about, if you are eating out a lot, that you need to kind of take that into consideration and maybe learn how to tweak it a little bit. But in reality, we all do rely on fast food at some point, some more often than others. So basically today we're going to talk about how you can actually fit it into your diet without having to take in lots of extra calories. So how you can actually make it work for you. So it's first thing is about knowledge. So we're going to learn a lot of good tips and tricks today. Some you may know, some you may not know, but we will find out. Okay. But before we get into that, I just kind of want you to think about calorie basics. So, there's a lot of ways that you can determine your calorie needs. There's tons of online calculators. I have calculations that I use. But if you really want an easy, simple way, you can use what's called the rule of zeros. So basically, you take what your current weight is, and you just add a 0 onto that. And so that's kind of how many calories you would need to maintain that weight. So you can see I have the example of 150 pounds up here. That would be like 1,500 calories a day. Now, let's say that this person they'd like to lose 10 pounds and be at 140, then they'd use their goal weight and add that 0 on there, so it would be the 1,400 calories. Now, there are a couple exceptions to this. Ladies do not go below 1,200 calories. Men do not go below 1,500 calories. When you do that, then it can your body can think that it's starving. The metabolism can slow down to try to conserve those calories and use them more efficiently. But also you run the risk of not getting all of the nutrients that you need to stay healthy. So, a couple of things with that. Now you can see too that I took that 1,500 calorie example and I broke it down and spaced it throughout the day. So you can see maybe targets for each meal. And honestly, if you kind of try to follow a calorie level, this might be a good idea for you to think about that way, how you can space it out evenly to keep your energy levels on an even keel. And so again, it's going to vary a little bit based on what your calorie count is, but that's just kind of a basic example for you. Okay. Okay, so you can go ahead and go up. Oh, and one thing too with that, if you use that method, if you exercise, you can add calories onto that. So if this person burns 200 calories in exercise, they can go up to 1,700 calories. Okay. And before I go too much further too, I will tell you guys that you will get the handouts from this at the end of the presentation, but you can see I'm quizzing you, so it wouldn't work very well if I gave the handouts out beforehand. So basically, this is a fast food challenge. I'm going to be quizzing you to see if you can guess how many calories are in these fast food meals, okay? We've got a lot of variety. Okay, so first we are at Runza, one of my favorites. So we have a bacon cheeseburger, we have the Frings, and a medium Pepsi. How many calories do you think are in that?
1,100.
Out of 1250, 1100? 15. Any other guesses? 2,000? Well, let's see. It has just under 1,100 calories in it, okay? 49 grams of fat. Now, let's think about this, how that fits into that overall daily eating plan. Of course, how many calories you need in a meal is going to vary from one person to the next. So what I need is going to be different from what you need. But just for simplicity's sake, we're going to say 500 calories just to have a kind of number to go off of, okay? So if we were trying to budget 500 calories for this meal, we more than doubled that. We are 590 calories over budget, okay? Now, if we wanted to burn off that those extra calories, let's talk about miles of walking, okay? For a 175-pound person, they burn about 100 calories for every mile that they walk. If you weigh more than that, you're going to burn more. If you weigh less, you'll burn less, so you'll have to walk more. But we're going to say that it's 100 calories per mile, so that means that to burn that off, you'd have to walk 5.9 miles, or for those of you that wear pedometers, it'd be close to 12,000 steps, which is more than what most people have in a day. So, let's see what we can do for a better choice from Runza. A little bit better option. So, we have a hamburger here. So we took off the bacon and the cheese, those extras, did a side salad instead of the fries, which is kind of a no-brainer there. And then we actually brought an apple from home. That's something you can just either have in your car, put in your purse, ladies, and it's a quick, easy side dish, and then just switch to a diet drink. If you don't like diet sodas, you could always do a water or an unsweetened iced tea as well. So this one weighs in at 510 calories and 18 grams of fat. So much closer to that 500 calorie budget, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about in terms of burger places, but just also with this meal, what we did. Smaller is better. So the multiple patties, not necessarily a good thing. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know with the Wendy's double burger, it was ridiculous, like 800 and some calories in it. So if you just downsize it, that in itself is going to do wonders for you. It's about that portion size. So in that way, if you're really wanting a burger, you can still have it. So you can see that the Runza's quarter-pound burger was about 360 calories. So really not too bad. Think about what's on it. We took off the bacon and the cheese. So all of those extras add a lot of calories to it. You know, the Whopper would have mayo on it, the Big Mac has the special sauce. Those kinds of things are going to add calories to it. And really, you know, if you can dress up a burger with some lettuce, tomato, onion, ketchup, mustard, you really don't need those toppings. So kind of, you know, think about where you can afford to trim back on there. A lot of places will butter their bun. Some places will just toast it, but that buttering can add on a good 40, 50 calories depending on how much they actually put on there. So that's another thing to consider. You can always ask if they do that, and then ask for them to not butter it, to just have the toasted bun, and that's an easy trick to save calories as well. Thinking the same thing about chicken. A lot of times people will say, well, I'll just order the chicken entree, it would be a lot healthier than the burger. Well, if you're getting the fried chicken, or if you're getting mayo on it, it'll honestly have just as many calories as what a burger could have and just as much fat. So really be aware of what those sauces are and how it's being prepared. Doing the grilled chicken and the skinless chicken is an easy switch, an easy fix for that. Have it your way basically just means customize it. You know, what's great about that, especially in fast food restaurants, is that means it's going to be fresh, so you know it wasn't sitting under the heat lamp for a long time. So if you ask for something without any sauce on it or without any cheese, not a big deal, and again, you know that it's fresh, so it's kind of a double bonus that way. And then what I like to do when I'm at restaurants like this, I'm not going to lie, I love Runza french fries. My favorite french fries in the whole world. So if I'm really wanting some french fries and I'm going to go there and have the french fries, then I make sure that my entree is a healthier choice. So I do something, maybe if it is the grilled chicken, or I'll even do a main entree salad and then have the fries to kind of balance it out. But if I really want a burger, then like we did in this example, do a salad or a piece of fruit, something like that to help balance out the calories. So it's not both, it's kind of one or the other. And then again, bringing your own side dish, it's not hard to sneak that into fast food restaurants. So it's an easy fix for avoiding those fries or the onion rings, as delicious as they are. Next example, we have a sub shop. So we have Jimmy John's, we have the Totally Tuna on the 7-grain wheat, the Thinny chips, and a lemonade. I think that's a 20-ounce lemonade. So how many calories do we think this is?
600.
600?
700.
Any other guesses? All right, let's see. 1,255 calories, 46 grams of fat. Okay, couple secrets. We'll get into a little bit more details, but the 7-grain wheat isn't even a whole grain. So a lot of people get it thinking that it's a whole grain, but it's just plain old wheat flour, not whole wheat flour. So, and it's actually higher in calories than what the French bread is. So that's my excuse for always getting the French bread when I go there. And then tuna or chicken salad. While when you make it at home, it can be a very healthy option if you are in control of it, but a lot of times it's just drowning in mayo, and so that adds tons and tons of calories. Okay, 1 tablespoon of mayo has 90 calories in it. So if they are being very liberal with it, you can see how it's easy to tack on those calories. The mini chips here, they're 200. They're the light one, so that's basically like a baked Lay's would be, or reduced fat one would be. But there's 2 servings in that package, and most people are going to eat that whole package. So when you see on the nutrition label that it's only 130 calories, that's only for half the bag. Most people don't realize that they're doubling their calories. And then again, just getting the calories from the lemonade. Okay, so let's see what a better option would be. Got the Big John, so roast beef with no mayo. Jimmy John's has an online nutrition calculator, so you can go on there and play with your sandwich and tweak it how you want to. When you take off the mayo, it shaves off almost 200 calories, so you can see they're very liberal with the mayo there. So roast beef is a good lean meat. You took off the mayo, so that helps reduce a lot of calories. Again, we brought some pop chips from home. Have you guys tried pop chips? Anybody? Oh my goodness, do you like them? Oh, they're so good. So that's your assignment, to go out and try pop chips. They are, instead of being a baked potato chips, they're actually popped. And so, I don't know, they just have this nice little crunch to them that is so much better than the other baked chips. So, and with this, you can get like 20 chips for 120 calories, so it's a pretty big portion size. So if you are having a salty craving, give these a try. And then we just switched to water, and we brought our own little Crystal Light packet and flavored that up to save some calories as well. So this meal has 470 calories and 7 grams of fat. Okay, much better option. Next, we're at Subway. So we have a 6-inch BMT with cheese and mayo and crunchy Cheetos. No drink included in this one, so think about that. I mean, it won't be quite as high as Jimmy John's. $800, 1,000? Let's see. 830, so very good guess, very good guess. Same principles here. Cheese and the mayo, the bacon, high-fat meats, they're going to add calories. The Cheetos have about 260 calories in a little package as well, so very dense calories in there. Better choice, we're going to get a club with fat-free honey mustard instead of the mayo, and we're going to do just some baked Lay's, an easy way to cut back on that, so we're closer to that 500 calorie mark at the 470 calories, okay? So, sub shops in general, okay? Trying to figure out what to order. When possible, do the whole grain breads or wraps. A lot of places don't necessarily have that option, so if you can't, that's out of your control. Next is the meats. So we already talked about the salads, the chicken and the tuna salad. You're better off having that at home. And then sticking with the leaner meats. So chicken, turkey, roast beef, and ham are all good bets. When you're getting into the salami, the bologna, the cold cuts, those are much higher in fat and add a lot of calories on there. So trying to avoid those or limit how often you have those. Again, do you need the cheese? Is there enough going on in the sandwich giving you enough? Is it giving you enough flavor that you really need the cheese? It's kind of pick and choose. And maybe with that club, if it's a low enough calorie sandwich, you could have the cheese and it could still fit into that calorie range. Also thinking about what you're having for your side dishes. A lot of delis or sub shops will have soups with it. So make sure you're choosing a broth-based soup over a cream-based. So the cream-based are much higher in calories than what the broth-based or the tomato-based ones are. If they have, fruit or yogurt, those are always, of course, good options as well. Next, we have, It just, I don't know, it just kind of went out of luck. Maybe close your eyes. There we go. Okay. So now we're actually doing a kids meal. A lot of times people will do kids meals to help cut back on calories. So we have a Mighty Kids meal here. We have a McDouble, small fries, low-fat milk, and apple slices. What do we think about this?
700.
700? Let's see. 735, very close, very good. So that McDouble, even though it's in a kid's meal, it has more calories than the burger from Runza, the plain old burger from Runza. Small fries, 230, which for fries is not bad. Low-fat milk and the apple slices don't add a whole lot of calories, but then when you smash it all together, we're still over budget. So what would be a better option is the cheeseburger Happy Meal. So we're getting that burger calories down to 300. The kids' fries have only 100 calories, which I think is just great because then if you're really wanting something salty, it's in such a portion-controlled amount that you can still get that salty craving satisfied without having to take in hundreds of calories. And then we kept the other side, so it's right at 515 calories. So that would be a good option. And you know, some people when I recommend, you know, the child-sized burgers, they don't think it's big enough. But with this meal, there's enough other things to complement it that it's going to help fill you up. It's going to help keep you going, and you're not going to be hungry an hour later for most people. All right. So again, kids menus. Just thinking about a few things if you are going to order off of it. It is possible to cut back on calories just because they are smaller sizes. But don't just assume that because you're doing that it's a healthy option. So like with Culver's, when you're getting their things, theirs are a little bit bigger than McDonald's, and then you get the little free voucher for the ice cream, so you add that onto it. You're getting over 1,000 calories for your kids' meals. So, and I think Runza gets little ice cream things in their kids' meals as well. So you can still be very high in calories when you're doing the kids' meals. So follow the principles that we are talking about today. It might let you, you know, like with the fries, like I said, you might be able to splurge a little bit there because it is in a smaller amount. But still do your homework and don't just assume that it's always a better option. Okay. Next, we have salad. And this is one of the most misunderstood foods, I think, in the fast food world, especially because it's, you know, it has that kind of health halo effect that everybody thinks that it's a healthy thing, but there's, you know, a lot of things can go into a salad to make it not so healthy, and we will find that out here soon. So we have just the Wendy's spicy chicken Caesar salad with the lemon garlic Caesar dressing. No drinks, no sides. What are we thinking? There are croutons, there is chicken, there's cheese, and tomatoes.
1,400.
1,400?
Caesar dressing. Everybody say here's 40.
Let's see. 780 calories. So I broke it down a little bit to kind of see where all those calories are coming from. We have the breaded chicken, so that's a little bit higher in calories, 260 calories. The cheese is adding another 170. Croutons, 80, and then the dressing, 210 calories. The veggies and the lettuce and all of that maybe added 50 calories out of all of that. So you can see that what you put on that salad can make a huge, huge difference. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit smarter direction here. Oh, we didn't talk about how many calories to burn that off. Sorry. But you'll get a copy of it, so. So it's okay. So now we're doing the half-size berry almond chicken salad. We're doing the fat-free raspberry vinaigrette. And then we're supplementing that with a little small chili, which it might seem weird to have a summer salad with chili, but their chili is so good that you can't just not get it. So that is a good option as well, 205 calories. So total-wise, we're still sitting under, but a little bit under that 500 calorie budget. So a very good option, okay? So let's just talk about salads in general and what good options might be. Talked about the health halo effect. Don't just assume that a salad is good for you, okay? When I was in college, I was a waitress at Applebee's, and I had so many people come in and say, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to get a salad, and they would order the Oriental chicken salad. So if anybody's ever been there, you kind of know it's made with breaded chicken, it's got a lot of dressing, crispy rice, and there's all these extras, where it's actually one of the unhealthiest salads I've ever seen. It had like 65 grams of fat in it. It was ridiculous. So don't be fooled by that. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Check the protein. That salad the first salad had that breaded meat. So look and see what kind of meat you're having. Is it a lean meat? Is it lean, grilled, breaded, or not? So that can make a huge impact on there. Also, if it is your main dish, make sure that it has a good source of protein and carbohydrates in it, okay? Otherwise, you're going to end up getting hungry, you know, an hour or two later and just go to the vending machine or get some sort of candy or something like that because it didn't satisfy you, okay? Protein is important because it helps slow down digestion and helps keep you full for a longer period of time. And those carbohydrates are important because that's what gives you energy to get through your afternoon so you don't hit that slump. So make sure it has both of those things. With our salad, the soup part of it, that added a little bit of carbohydrates from the beans in it, but also the fruit in the salad helped as well. So that's where our carbohydrates came from to help keep us going. But you also might want to plan on a snack later if it is a little bit smaller of a salad. Dressings, this is where we can get into a lot of trouble. You can see that 210 calories from the dressing before, but also, when you're at more of a sit-down restaurant, they can really, you can just have this puddle of dressing at the bottom of your salad bowl. So always get that on the side because then you control how much you're putting on there. And then, in addition to that, don't necessarily just spread it over the salad when you get it. Use the fork method, so dip your fork in it, in the dressing, and then in the salad, and then you're still going to get that dressing flavor, but it's not going to be so many calories with it, okay? And then thinking about the toppings. So the more toppings that it has, the more calories it's going to have. Of course, if they add in different kinds of veggies, that's always a good thing. It's going to add a lot of flavor and texture and variety to the salad, but not a lot of calories. But then when you get into those croutons or the crispy rice noodles, the tortilla strips, the cheese, all of those things are going to add quite a bit of calories. So really limiting how many of those high-fat toppings you have in that salad is a good idea. So if I do want a salad when I go out, I make sure that I do, if it's, if it has both cheese and avocado in it, I'll take out one of them, so it helps balance out the calories a little bit better. And then, of course, a side salad with a light dressing is always a good option, provided that it doesn't have a lot of those high-calorie toppings on it. Okay, so next we're at a Chinese restaurant. We have orange chicken, fried rice, 1 egg roll, and a large Pepsi. 2,500? It's bad, but it's not quite bad. I'll give you that. I'll give you a hit on that one. Oh, sorry. What? Oh, you pushed it? Okay, sorry. 1,550 calories. Okay, so if we're back to the beginning when that person was trying to eat 1,500 calories over the whole day, well, they just got it in one meal. So that's not so great. So think about how many extra steps you're going to have to take for that, okay? That's 1,050 calories over budget. So that means you're walking 10.5 miles. So it's kind of a lot. One good thing to think about, when you are contemplating these choices is when you know how many calories it has in it, say, okay, this one was, that 10.5 miles. Would I be willing to walk? If it was sitting on the table 10.5 miles away, would I be willing to walk that far to get it? I definitely wouldn't. I don't like Chinese that much, but if it was something different maybe, but kind of think about it that way, and it helps you realize whether or not it's worth it, okay? So let's see what a little bit better option would be from here. We have the Samurai Surf and Turf, brown rice, and we just did half the order instead of the whole order, fortune cookie, and we just, again, switched to a diet soda. So now we're at 475 calories and 11 grams of fat. So doing that shaved off over 1,000 calories. So now with Chinese in general, this can be a really tough one to eat healthy. There's lots of vegetables, so people will kind of assume that it's a good thing, but they have westernized the Asian cuisine, and it's a lot of times made in a lot of oil. There's a lot of fried or breaded meats as well, which breading basically just helps soak up fat, so that makes it's a double whammy there. And then the sauces, I think that's what's kind of hard, is that it's hard to know which sauces are good and which ones aren't so good. So the sweet and sour, the mandarin sauce, sesame sauces, those are usually higher in calories. I have down at the bottom some better sauce ideas, so like the velvet, poison, plum, duck, reduced sodium soy. Those are all some good ones to use. And again, remember, you'll get the handout, so you don't have to try to remember all of these. But these can really drastically reduce the calories. So, for example, in one serving, I think the mandarin sauce has maybe 140 calories for this particular chain. But if you would do the chili sauce or the hot mustard sauce, it might have 10 calories. So, big opportunity to cut back on calories there. And one thing that you really can't, it's very hard to get away from with Chinese or even any kind of Asian cuisine, is the sodium. There's just so much sodium in them that if you do have high blood pressure, it's really best to try to, I don't want to say completely avoid, but really make this a special occasion, because you're really going to probably OD on the sodium part of it, especially just with those sauces. I mean, even the reduced sodium ones still have a half day's worth of sodium in just 1 tablespoon. So it really is, like I said, very, very high. Something else to think about, I said that the better options were steamed rice or white rice, but at Panda Express, a serving of brown rice still has 420 calories in it, which is, again, almost a meal's worth. So you really have to pay attention to that portion size. Even if it is a healthy item, watch out how much you're having. That's why we cut it in half, so you get it closer to what it should be, okay? All right, next, we are at Taco Bell. So Crunchwrap, Supreme, Beef Stuffed Taco, and we did switch to the Diet Soda this time. So you might be doing a little bit better.
1,100.
1,100? Any other guesses? 800? Let's see. 760. So we're a little bit lower than usual, but we're still over budget. So we still would have to walk 5,200 extra steps to burn that off. Okay. So let's do a better option. Okay. We ordered off the Fresco menu for our tacos, which, if you guys aren't familiar with it, basically what they do is they take off the high-fat toppings, the sour cream and the cheese, all the good stuff, and then they put on vegetables and salsa or pico instead to help give it some flavor, but not all of the calories there. So we did 2 tacos here, and we did a pintos and cheese, which actually was not on the Fresco menu, so we didn't do everything there. And we were still able to be under budget a little bit. And this is it's a very filling meal too, so again, it's a much better option. So let's talk a little bit about Mexican food. We're going to do both sit-down restaurants and fast food because it can vary a lot. So the chips, oh my gosh. Does anybody else struggle with the chips? Seriously, oh my gosh, okay. I'm going to be real with you, okay? It was a couple weeks ago. We were at a local Mexican restaurant. I was there, and the person I was with, we had pretty much eaten the full basket before the food had gotten there. And then when my meal got here, I said, well, I have some guacamole on there. I'd really like some chips with that. So as for another basket, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. And then I pretty much downed that whole basket myself. So not my proudest moment, but I don't even want to know how many calories I got out of that. So don't do what I did. Don't do my mistake, okay? Because these chips, they are usually fried as well. So, you look at tortilla chips that come out of the package, and depending on the size of it, you can get 8, 10, 12 for maybe 140 calories. Well, when they're frying this, sometimes they fry it multiple times. They're really adding a lot of calories to that. So it's really hard to know how many calories you're actually getting out of the chips and salsa. But if you are really also just grabbing out of the basket versus portioning it out too, it's so hard to know how much you're having, and then you wind up like me and you end up at the bottom of the basket and you have eaten all of those. So again, don't do what I did. Also, learn the lingua, okay? This is something where, they do a lot of Spanish terms, and it's hard to really know what it means. So if it's a chimichanga, who knows, what is that? Like, how do they prepare it? Anybody? Fried, exactly. So sometimes they'll have the little decoders on there. But there's different things that I have to get my smartphone out and I have to look up what it means because there's so many different terms that I'm just not sure about. And so if it doesn't say on there that it is grilled or, something that you actually know, it's good to look it up. And sometimes I'll say if, something is sauteed, if it's lightly sauteed, that's okay. But I noticed that most of the actual sit-down restaurants in Lincoln, I've been to all of them, I like Mexican, and they're never usually, when it's sauteed, it's usually just kind of in a puddle of oil. So I have made the point to start just doing only grilled items, and then that way I know it's a safe bet. So it's probably the best thing to do if you can. But again, just really looking the terms up. Also, thinking about your toppings, okay? Because this is somewhere where, again, you can get into a lot of trouble because they put not just one high-fat topping on there, but several, and the portion size is really quite large. So with the burritos, they'll put cheese in the burrito, and then they have to put it on top, too, because there, I guess, isn't enough inside of it. So, and that, again, that adds lots of calories. So my rule of thumb is to stick to one high-calorie topping, and then you take the rest of them off. And so you kind of pick it, again, going back to that picking and choosing, which one of these do I really, really want? And then with the salsa or the pico de gallo, those are so low calorie that just go to town with them. You can have as much of that as you want, and it's really going to add minimal calories, but it's going to help add a lot of flavor to your dish. Again, asking for sauces on the side so you can control how much you put on there. And another thing too, I did mention guac up there as being one of the high-fat toppings. So I'm not sure if that will confuse anybody, but avocados, they are a very healthy food. They're full of heart-healthy monounsaturated fats, fiber, folic acid, lots of good nutrients in there. But it is a fat source, and so regardless of the fat source, whether it's healthy for your heart or not healthy for your heart, it is high in calories. So you need to watch how much of it you're actually having on there, okay? One trick that I use if I do want guacamole is I'll mix it up with salsa, so it helps lower the calorie balance down, and then adds a little bit of zest to it too. So that's something you can do as well. Tortillas, a lot of times the tortillas will come actually fried. You know, you'll have the crispy tostados, but even sometimes the flour or the corn ones will be lightly fried, and so that's going to add calories to it as well. So try to stay away from the fried ones. And then you can really, you could do, ideally we'd like whole wheat ones, but a lot of places won't have that. So either doing the soft corn or flour ones. The corn are lower in calories and fat, so if you really are trying to save calories and don't mind the taste difference, then go for the corn. Usually they have about 50 calories a piece versus the flour ones can have 82, maybe 110. Just kind of varies a little bit. So that's something to think about. And then the beans are something else that we need to talk about. How many people here, does anybody know what they do to the beans there? It's really sad. It's really sad because I really like refried beans. But what they typically do is they're going to add some sort of fat to it. A lot of times it's lard. Sometimes it might be an oil, but they're adding that into there. And so you're getting a ton of extra fat that, typically you think, oh, beans, not so bad. But these, I'm sorry, they typically are. So if they have maybe a side of pinto beans or black beans instead, that's a better option than the refried beans. So now we all know what Kelly's weakness is Mexican food. So if you share my pain, there's a lot of good tips for you, okay? So now we have pizza. We moved on to that. We're at Domino's for this one. So we have the meat, 2 slices of the Pizza Fest. So it has a couple different kinds of meat. Looks like pepperoni, beef, sausage, and Canadian bacon. The handmade pan crust, and then 2 breadsticks. So we're just doing breadsticks, no cheesy breadsticks or anything. What do we think? 900? Any other guesses?
So I'm gonna say
13? Let's find out. 920, okay? 50 grams of fat, so person that's following that 1,500 calorie menu, that's probably about all the fat that they should be having in a day. So if you stick to carrot sticks probably the rest of the day. But that's about 4.2 extra miles that you're gonna have to walk to burn off those extra calories, okay? And pizza, I think, is one thing. It's one of those things, too, that it's very easy to overeat just because you have a couple slices and then you have whatever you might be having it with, and boom, you're way over in calories, especially with the sizes. You just never know what the size is. But we'll get into that in a second. First, let's talk about a better choice, okay? So now we have 2 slices of chicken and veggie. We did a custom one. We decided what we were going to put on there. So we did chicken and just green peppers, black olives, mushrooms, onions, all that good stuff. We did a hand-tossed crust, and then we did a side salad instead. We talked about why side salad's good, so I won't review that again, but we were within budget at 470 calories, so we didn't even have to stick to a single slice, so that's great. All right, now, so let's break down the pizza about how to make this work. Now, the thin crust, a lot of times people will think, yes, this is a better choice, less calories. Yes, it's very, very true. But you have to think, too, how many pieces of the thin crust are you going to have to eat to get filled up? If I do a thin crust, I love thin crust, I just always have. Before I knew that it was a lower calorie option, I did. But you do tend to eat more. I tend to have to eat more slices to get filled up. So are you actually eating more calories by doing the thin crust? Again, thin crust isn't a bad option, but it's just something to think about. Is it going to help keep you satisfied? If not, doing the hand tossed. Some places also have whole wheat. Those are some better options. Domino's right now, they have those artesian pizzas where per slice is only like 150 calories. It's really low. So, you could get away with 3 of them and still fall within budget. So again, you kind of have to, if you can do your homework and go online and see the nutrition information, that might help you make some choices a little bit better. But skipping the pan or the stuffed crust ones are the best options. In college, I had a friend that worked at Valentino's, and he told me how they made the pizzas, and they literally, at that point in time, it was like a stick of butter that they just put in the bottom of the pan, and then they put the crust over it. So I'm not saying that everybody adds that much fat, and he could have been exaggerating, but they do add a lot of either oil or butter or something to those pan crusts. So it's a really easy way to cut back on calories by choosing a healthier crust. The sauces, if you can stick with the red sauce, even a barbecue, like a chicken barbecue, is better than the white sauces. If it's a creamy garlic or a garlic butter sort of sauce, that's going to mean that it's a lot higher in calories. So you can stick to the traditional red. That will save you tons of calories as well. Looking at how much cheese is actually on there, a lot of times they really do. I know people like cheese, but they sometimes can really overdo it on cheese. So if you ask them to go light on the cheese, you can do that. And that's going to, again, help save a lot of calories that way. And then just looking at your toppings. So the pepperoni, the sausage, the bacon, those are all going to be very high in fat. And that Pizza Fest that we had, it had all of those on there, so it made it really high. But just choosing the leaner options. You know, a Canadian bacon, a Hawaiian pizza is actually one of the best options out there because Canadian bacon is a very lean meat. So you can do that. And even, you know, if you've never tried a veggie pizza, you at least need to try it once in your life because most people are pleasantly surprised that it still does have, even though it doesn't have meat, it's very satisfying. Actually, another job that I had in college, I worked in an assisted living facility, and this man and his wife that lived there, every day they would go out, or every Friday they'd go out to Pizza Hut, and they would always bring me my own personal pizza back, and I would always get the veggie, and he just made fun of me forever, for a year, and then I got him to try it, and he was like, that ain't too bad. I mean, this guy was 90 years old and he loved it. So I figured if I could get somebody like that to like it, then most people probably could at least enjoy it. So try it. And again, they're so low in calories, but have tons of flavor and just really add a lot to the pizza. So, you know, you can have a lot of those on there without having to add calories to it. Another thing to think about is what size is the slice, okay? So we could use Domino's or Papa John's, whatever, as an example. And if you order a medium, they cut it into 8 slices. If you order a large, they still cut it into 8 slices. So you might be saying, okay, I'm only having a slice, but if you go from that medium to that large, and the slice is growing, so you can be getting 100 or more extra calories without even really realizing it. So that is something that you do want to think about, is how big is that slice exactly. So again, doing your homework, and if you can go and look up the nutrition information, it will be very, very helpful for you. Okay. All right, and let's see. Okay, so we kind of went through a wide variety of them, and I just kind of want to review a couple points. We did touch on a lot of these, but it's just something that no matter where you go, whether it's a sit-down restaurant or it is in the drive-thru, what are some good tips to use? So know before you go, I've talked about looking up that information online, and that really is your best tool there because even though I'm giving general tips about what to do at different places, it's surprising how even if you would follow that at one restaurant, you're still getting quite a bit of calories. At another restaurant, you might go to and do the exact opposite of what I tell you, and it still might be an actual decent option. So again, if you can really look that up, that can be very helpful to you. Knowing what the terminology is. So the crispy, the breaded, the scalloped, the creamy, all those things that really sound indulgent and decadent, basically means they're adding some kind of calories and fat in some way, shape, or form. And then looking for the better options. So, if it is the grilled, baked, broiled, steamed, always good options. If it is something that is sauteed or stir-fried, if you can ask them to go light on the oil, a lot of times they're more than happy to do it, especially if it is a sit-down restaurant versus a fast food. You tend to have a little bit better luck that way. And again, don't be afraid to ask for special requests. It's not a big deal. They have tons of people that go through the restaurant every day and do it, so it's just something that they can just do like that. They're not going to spit in your food, at least 95% of the time, But they won't. You don't have to necessarily worry about that happening, because it is such a common occurrence, and it's a really easy way to help make your meal healthier, and it does give you some control over what you're being served. Okay, and then just your portions. We talked at the beginning about how most restaurant servings are 2 to 3 times the size of what it should be. So. The Five Guys downtown, their fries, it's ridiculous, has like over 1,000 calories in it. But if you've ever been there, they just basically fill up your sack with fries. So of course it's going to be a lot more. They're not necessarily, the fries themselves are that much worse than what runs as a McDonald's are. It's just that portion is so much bigger. So pay attention to that. And so an easy way to just kind of keep the portions more normal. Even though it's a better deal to up the size for very little cost, you're still, you may not be paying with money, but you're paying with calories. So think about it that way. And again, trying to do something that's maybe kid size, or if they have value menus, there's a lot of value menus out right now, those portions will be downsized somewhat as well. So it's an easy trick to save calories. And then as we saw through the examples, that calories from beverages can really stack up quickly. So I think it was the Chinese one, that added almost 400 or 500 calories. So think about what it is that you're drinking. And also, when you do diet, of course that's good, but some people will think, okay, I'm getting the Diet Coke, so that means that I can go ahead and supersize it or whatever and be fine with it. Don't think that because you're doing yourself a favor with not drinking your calories that you can splurge with your meal, okay? And then in terms of where some good options might be, I just put a list. It definitely isn't all-inclusive, but it's a list of some places that do have some healthier options. So if you guys have noticed within the past year, it's actually about a year ago that McDonald's started posting all of their nutrition information right on their menu, which is very helpful. I know Panera Bread does that. I'm sure there's other places that do it as well. So that you can use that as knowledge, but also they have their favorites under 400. I think that menu might just be online, and if you are ordering off of that, be careful because some of the options they have on there is without like the cheese and the sauces, and they don't necessarily say that. So you might need to do a little bit more homework on the website. Taco Bell, we talked about the Fresco menu, and then Amigos basically copied them and did their Fiesta Fit, which is kind of the same principles that they're using. Subway, Jared taught us all about the 6 grams of fat or less, so those are all good. Just remember that what you're putting on it is important as well. Popeyes has the Louisiana Low, which has a lot of good options too that are calorie friendly. Panda Express, the Woke Smart menu. Anything that is on that menu has less than 250 calories on it, so it's a good option that way. And then some other sit-down ones, Ruby Tuesdays, Applebee's, Chili's, they kind of cater with some light choices, but any chain restaurant, almost any chain, is going to have their nutrition facts posted, so that's why knowing before you go can be very, very helpful. And I really want to put the emphasis on before, not waiting until you get there and then looking it up, because you're going to be so overwhelmed with what the person on the table across from you is eating, what you're smelling, that you might throw caution to the wind and just get whatever you want. So really looking ahead of time can really do you a lot of favors as well. And then I talked a little bit about how Jimmy John's had a nutrition calculator, but there's other websites that do that as well. And it's really fun to just kind of play around and see how, well, what if I want this, I can take away that, how you can actually make it work. So Jimmy John's, Starbucks, Domino's, Chipotle, they all have different tools to help you eat a little bit healthier. So definitely take advantage of those. And a couple more resources is that Calorie King has a little book that's about this big that you can it can fit in a purse or in a vehicle, that it has tons of calorie information, not just for fast food, but just food in general. So that's a good tool. But if you are a little bit more kind of want to do the tech thing, you can of course use websites, phone apps, use something, there's a lot of good tools out there that you can use for your advantage. And then of course, if you know any dietitians, they can definitely help you as well, okay? So I know, I tried to cover a wide variety of options just because everybody likes stuff that's a little bit different. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that maybe I didn't hit on with certain types that anybody has questions about?
What's the huge thing of theater popcorn?
I think it depends probably on which theaters they are, but I've seen over 1,000 calories for those. And I don't know if that's before or after you put on the extra butter sprays too, so that can be it can be pretty bad. And when they give you the big ones, you get free refills.
Oh, yeah.
So if that wasn't bad enough. Even with the candies, they have it in such big portions too, that it's hundreds of calories of candy. So I always take my own snacks. Even if it is popcorn, I'll make my own popcorn and I'll sneak it in my purse. So guys, you need to take a woman with you, have her sneak some in your purse, and plus then you save money that way too. So, but yeah, if you really need the movie theater butter, if that's what you really want, just stick with the small stuff and definitely still split it because it can still be kind of high in calories. Yes?
I noticed on some of the healthy food options at like Arby's, the wraps lower in calories, but they sometimes offer like 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of sodium added onto it.
Most restaurants are going to be high in sodium. I talked about the Chinese because that one is especially bad, but there are definitely, just around as a whole, they are higher in sodium. Some can have up to 4,000 or 5,000 milligrams of sodium, when in a day, people with healthy blood pressure should have no more than 2,300. So it's almost doubling what you should have in a day. And it's just something to that's the biggest sources of, one of the biggest sources of sodium in our diet. Restaurant foods and processed foods, they make up 80% of the sodium that is in the standard American's diet. And that's why, really, first of all, cutting back on the portion size can help reduce that, but sometimes you can't necessarily. There's not a whole lot you can do to get around it. You have to really do your homework there and really stick to the less processed things. That's where bringing your own side dish, if it's fruit or a vegetable, can really help balance that out, because it's very difficult. Even the healthy, low-fat, low-calorie options are going to be high in sodium. And so, I tell people if they do have high blood pressure to really work on balancing it out over the course of the day. So make sure that everything else that you're eating throughout the day are low sodium foods, and that can help a little bit. So that's a good question. Yes?
When I go to Jimmy John's, I'll get their lettuce wrap
Mhm.
or their unwich.
Mhm.
And at first I thought I was going to hate it because I could smell the bread while I was
Mhm.
waiting for it. But it's actually still really satisfying.
Mhm.
So I just have them add extra veggies like
Mhm.
tomatoes and stuff and take off the mayo. And
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you can do it with any sandwich there, correct? You just ask for it in unwich, and it just can cut a lot of calories that way. If someone, especially if you have diabetes and you really need to watch your carbohydrates, that's especially helpful. But it's a really easy way to kind of, you pick and choose. What do you really want? A lot of times people too, it may not be at Jimmy John's, but if it's a burger, taking the top half of it off will at least help save you some as well. But yes, the unwich is another great example of a good way to eat healthier. So thanks for sharing that. Yes?
How bad is
Aspartame?
in diet?
Oh, that, is the $1 million question. There has been, well, in terms of safety, in terms like cancer and whether or not it causes that, you hear about this study pointed to that or this study suggested that. But a couple of years ago, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics did a huge meta-analysis of all of the studies done. Based off of that, they regarded it as being safe, so not causing the cancer. In addition, the FDA and the American Cancer Society all deem it as being safe and not saying that it's going to cause cancer. There's been several artificial sweeteners in the past that have been taken off the market because they have found that connection. So I think that you can really find confidence in that in terms of, is it going to give me cancer? The research is not there to say it. Now, there's been some recent research in the past couple of years that has looked at, does it actually lead to weight gain, and how some people that drink diet soda had bigger waist sizes, or that they tended to crave more sweets and that sort of thing. There is some research to show that, but at this point in time, there's not enough there for me to say we definitely need to cut out those artificial sweeteners. I think moderation is key. Just because, if there has been that a little bit of research there, and they just don't know yet, as long as you're not drinking 6 or 8 diet sodas a day and you're limiting yourself, then you're doing okay. And, again, it's just that portion size amount. And some of the studies too, some of them are lacking. One that I think it got a lot of publicity actually. It did look at people, it basically said, okay, had people that they just followed over a period of time and noted whether or not they drank diet soda and measured their waist sizes at point A and at point B, like 10 years later. They didn't take into account what they were eating, if they were physically active, any of those things. So it's kind of a huge assumption to say, okay, you drink diet soda and your waist gets bigger. They weren't necessarily looking at all of those, but it can get given to the media in a certain way that it just takes off. So, I'd stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, if someone would ask me if they should drink a regular soda or a diet soda, I would still say diet. And I would be lying if I said that I never had diet soda, so I'll have that versus the regular. So, but yeah, again, moderation. So it's a good one. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you so much for being such a good group and for all the good questions. The hand